Honk.
What's up, Cobra Kai fans? Welcome back to Cobra Kai Nation. I hope you're all having a great day. So my special guest today is Scott Hamm, who played Guage in Cobra Kai Season 2, Episode 6.
Yes.
You remember that episode for the OG Cobras. Scott, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on, man.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We were just talking a little bit about like earlier in your career, and you know, you've done some amazing stuff. I know you worked on Walker Texas Ranger. Buffy was the thing we were just talking about. I know you were in Star Trek as well, like one of the series, and it's just so cool to see like going from that to where you are now, and Cobra Kai, that whole Karate Kid experience, like it must have been insane. But before we kind of go into Cobra Kai, please tell me like how you first realized or what started your passion for acting.
Yeah, man, that's a good question. And thanks again for having me. And when you say those titles back to me, sometimes I'm like, that is pretty cool, man. I've gotten to do some cool stuff. So thank you. But this journey for me started, I always like to say that like growing up as a kid, I loved two things. I loved sports and I loved movies. And that was it for me. It's like sports and movies. If I'm not playing, go play a doubleheader in Little League, then go home and stay up all night watching movies.
I love that.
And, as I got older and I just said, I got to find a way to work in one of these industries. And I tried to play baseball as long as I could. Just wasn't quite good enough to get, bounced around a little bit in some small colleges. And then that was about it. And toiled around for a few years trying to figure things out. I think like we kind of all do. And I said, you know what? I got to try and find a way to get into films. I at the time, it wasn't just to be an actor. It was just like, I just want to be a part of this business. But I didn't know, like a lot of people out there that I talked to, that it's, I had no idea. How do you do it? I didn't live in LA at the time. I mean, I lived in Southern California at the time, but I had no connections or anything. So again, just to move the story along, I ended up interning for someone that was a publicist.
Right.
Basically someone that does publicity for actors and actresses and stuff, books their people on shows like yours, things like that. And I just remember talking to her, and she always said, she's like, you'd be great at this. You'd be great at an actor. And I was always nervous. I go, yeah, I would love to do it, but I don't know how to do it. And she kind of pointed me in the right direction. And, I wasn't a big theater major. I played sports in high school. And, when I did get into college, I started taking some theater classes and things like that. And so I was a little familiar with it. But I got really lucky at the beginning. I really, really did. Right off the bat, I got into an acting class, got some good feedback, and then learned the business side of it to get, headshots and resumes, even though there's nothing to put on my resume. They're like, you put the theater classes that you've been in, you put whatever scenes from a play you did just for now, and sent it out there. Got lucky enough to get an agent, and really quickly, which was, a blessing and a curse, I think, because it didn't set me up for the times that were slow. I got some stuff right away. And then I was like, this is it. I love it. I love this business. And it's kind of gotten me hooked ever since. And I've definitely had ups and downs and ins and outs of this business, but that's the general idea of it. I just one day I just found my way down to LA and found a little internship, and then that led to an acting class, and that led to an agent, and then that led to parts, and then here I am all these years later, still hanging on. This business can't get rid of me.
Right. There's so much. I know you're a filmmaker as well, so there's also like so much more going ahead with that, and that's pretty cool because like you got that experience with acting, and now
right.
I mean, I don't know if you've always been passionate about maybe making your own project, but it seems like it because you're definitely doing a lot with that as well. And
yes.
Kind of was that always something you wanted to do as well when you realized you wanted to do acting?
100%. I always thought making your own stories, creating your own universes, or whatever you want to call it, or just seemed like, Steven Spielberg was like my hero. Like I loved his movies. I must have seen Raiders of the Lost Ark a million times. I just like anything like that, I was just like, God, that would be amazing to do that. But that even seemed more far-fetched to me than being an actor. Like, I'm like, I didn't go to film school. I'm not as smart as these guys. Like, how do you do this? There's so much more to it than just setting a camera there and have people talk in front of it. So that seemed really, really far-fetched for me. And so acting was the way I decided that I wanted to break into this business. And luckily, it did get my foot in the door. And then I just tried to kind of be a student on set, not have it all be about, networking or, taking selfies, or no disrespect to anybody that does that. But I just would always kind of be learning and watching the crew, or watching what this director's doing, or talking to maybe people that are more behind the scenes, like how, or hear someone saying, I'm trying to do my own indie film, and how do you go about doing that, man? And just kind of kept that information in the back of my head for a lot of years, because it still seemed unobtainable to me. But nowadays, I think with everything that's going on, with the way that cameras are, and you can make a movie on an iPhone now and get it released, like it's crazy. I felt, and meeting a couple like-minded people, I felt this is the time that I can maybe start trying to tell my stories. And then over the past probably couple of years, I've said, let's go for it. Let's try it out. And I've loved it. I love it. And I definitely want to continue it. I'm just scratching the surface there. Had a couple projects now that have been I had my first one that was just really my baby that just came out. And I couldn't be more excited for the future and for doing it. I still definitely want to be an actor and work, and I'm going to be one of those director, producer guys that likes to find parts for myself in these movies.
Why not? Why the hell not?
When people tease me though too, I'm like, hey, Quentin Tarantino's, his movies, Spike Lee is, there's lots of people like Adam Sandler, he's in his movie. It's just, I don't have to force myself into anything, but I love that too. I love getting into my own stuff. But of course, whatever's best for the movie, I would do it. I'm also super cheap to hire because I don't need to pay myself, so it's fantastic. It saves on the budget. So, but yeah, that's how I kind of started that a couple of years ago. It was just really just to do it, just to try it and see where it goes. And right now, we're off to a really good start, and I'm excited about it. And thank you for asking.
You're welcome, man. It's interesting because like being a creative, you gotta have that. Being an actor, that's a very creative thing. You're expressing yourself in that way, but like, as much as you do that, there must be some sort of inspiration that makes you go, yeah, I want to do my own thing as well. Like, I can see it doing it for someone else, and you're expressing yourself in that way in the roles you do. But is it really coming just from what you want to do? Like, necessarily, no, because like it's not your project. But when it's your project,
right?
It's like so much more like. You have more control over it, and it's just you're really doing it from your perspective, which must be even more fun.
It's definitely pros and cons. Like, yeah, it's you're right. You got all the control, but then again, you have all the accountability. So
right.
If I do a show and maybe it's not the greatest show, it's like, hey man, I'm just an actor in that thing. But now when I do one and you hear the critics, and you're gonna hear the critics no matter how good or bad your movie is, then it's like, well, I have to take full responsibility for this if someone doesn't like it, or if it didn't really come out the way that I want it to come out. Or so it's a lot of fun, but it can also be a lot of pressure too, because I want it to be great. I want it to be great for all. I want all the actors that were in it, the cast and crew, to be proud of it. I also want the people, investors and stuff like that, I want them to make money and be happy, so they want to invest and do business more. But I also want them to be happy and proud of what we put out too, because they're taking a tremendous leap of faith with you, when you just show them the script and say, I'm going to make this come alive and I'm going to try and make you some money. You want it to be all about the art, but it also needs to be about the money a little bit too. Unless you got unlimited money. Like, I don't care, make whatever you want. Who cares if it makes any money back? Just make fun stuff. But it's a definite whole nother process. And but I do love it. And you're right. It was always weird. You said something, it wasn't really your question, but it kind of struck me too, was that the way that going into an audition or casting or an agent or something, the way that they see you and the way that you see yourself, like in the roles that you can play, it's two totally different things, man. Sometimes people, you feel like they get you, and maybe you're the one that's not seeing it. Maybe if everybody around you is saying you play this type of character very well, and this type of character, it's kind of comes across false. But when I very first started, I remember having some agents pass on me because they said you're too nice. Like you could only play nice guy stuff. And I think you even said something. And now all these years later, I look back at some of my better parts and a lot of the roles that I get, I'm playing like a jerk or a mean person.
Gauge, for example.
You know what I mean? And I always look back to that meeting and I say, they were so wrong, those agents. Because look at that. Those are, I get a lot of stuff where I'm kind of the D-bag. I don't know if that's if I shouldn't say you know what I mean? Yeah, in real life I'm a nice guy, but I'm an actor. I'm trying. I can act a certain way. So, and I love playing those roles too because it's so fun to get in and be something that hopefully I'm the opposite of.
Yeah. So brings me to my question. So when you play that character that you play in Cobra Kai, run me through like when you realized it was part of the Karate Kid, and also like when you realized you were going to be in the show.
Yeah, man, it's one of those ones too. I watched season 1 as a fan because, no lie, I'm a huge Karate Kid fan. Huge Karate Kid honk, man. Like I've seen that movie 1,000 times. I've seen all the sequels. Everything. I was already all in. I was all ready to be like, how are they going to do this, man? This, I don't know. I was skeptical. And then I instantly loved it. And I swear on everything, I'm not just saying that. I instantly loved it. I said, these guys are brilliant what they did with the Johnny character and the LaRusso character, what they ended up being in life. This is fantastic. And I watched that whole season. I'm like, this is great. I got YouTube Red because it was on YouTube Red, I believe, the first season.
Yes, it was. Solely
because of that show. It's the only reason I subscribed, got the channel, the whole thing, just to be able to watch that show.
Same here.
Right? I know.
There was nothing else I was going to watch. So I was like, Cobra Kai is the only good show. Like, why isn't this on like a bigger streaming service? Yeah. It's too good for YouTube.
I agree 1,000%. And I remember getting it. They hooked me in because it was like they gave us the first episode for free. And they said, if you want to watch any more, you got some.
To do that.
So I was like, okay, you got me. Here's my credit card number. I'm in. And then, the time passes and there's these weird gaps, like in real time of what they're shooting and when this stuff airs. And I remember opening up the audition and I was like, oh, season 2, Cobra Kai. Oh, shoot, it's an audition. Yes. All right. What do I got here? And then I looked at it and I'm like, and it's a kind of a jerky character. And I can say now, but I remember I wasn't allowed to talk about it at the beginning, but I'm looking at what the pages were and I go, they're bringing the Cobra Kai from the Karate Kid.
That must be such a fun moment.
Hold on. And I get in there, this character gets in a fight with him. I'm like, how am I that? But I'm like, I have to get this. And there's a lot that I get that I'm like, I love the show. I want to be, and you just don't get them. I mean, it's a lot of competition out there to get these roles. So you can't get too high on it before you have them. But I was pretty high. I went against my own rule. I got worked up. I would be like, I gotta get this one. I gotta get this one.
Yeah, I would be the same. Like, I totally see that. Like, yeah.
To be on a show that you already know and that you already love, and then to get a part on it is amazing. With the opportunity just to get a part on it, to be a part of it. So I remember getting the audition, and then I think for this one I had to sign an NDA because they didn't want the story plots getting out. And then getting the sides, and I was so into it, and I'm like, God, this one might be tough for me though, because the character was written so like, I just pictured like tattooed dude from head to toe with giant ear gauges, and like, I'm like, shoot. But I think that helped me too, because then I'm like, you know what? I got nothing to lose. So yeah, this probably isn't right for me. So I'm just going to go in. Maybe I'll be a little, I'll change some things my way and do it how a guy like me in the bar would do it, as opposed to just trying to act like what I think the page is written for. And my ears are actually pierced. But I haven't worn earrings in a long time. I jam the earrings in, and I do have a couple tattoos on my shoulders, but I specifically got them in places that I could cover them with regular shirts and stuff, just for what I do for a living. And but I wore a tank top and with the earrings and just try to act as just a guy in a bar that's just like I said, just a D-bag. And turned it in, and then a couple weeks go by, and you just kind of have to stop thinking about it, because you don't, everyone thinks that they'll call you that same day and they say yes or no, and you just don't know. You send the audition, it's just out in the universe, and then it could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a month before you hear anything.
Right.
And when I got, all of a sudden, I get the email and says, hey, you got an offer from Cobra Kai for that part, and they want to pin you for that. And I was like, what? Yeah. And then, so that was over the moon. I was like, oh, and they're gonna pay me? I was like, yeah. But don't say anything. I would have paid them to let me be on this. But and then it was on. So I couldn't have been happier, and it was a fantastic experience.
For sure, it must have been. I've heard that with that scene. So apparently Dutch was supposed to be in that fight scene with you guys. So
yeah,
is that what it said originally in the script that you read?
Yes, I always like to say, I think enough time has passed. I don't think I'm speaking out of school or anything. I think I even actually I talked to the guys a little bit here and there on social media. But anyway, I don't, like I said, I'm not giving anything away, I don't think. But yes, it was Dutch originally, and it was written in there as Dutch.
Right.
And it was me and him, and then Johnny and the rest of the guys back it up. So it was me and him. And there's another scene too that didn't make it into the thing between me and Johnny. That was also supposed to be me and Dutch. We originally, before that all pops off, there was a scene where me and Johnny are ordering drinks at the bar at the same time, and then we're kind of like, that guy's at the bar thing, and turn around, I smack into him, and I spill his pitcher, and I blame it on him. I remember I say something like, watch where you're going, you piece of shit. Something like that. He's just like, he's just standing there like, what? And I'm like, what? And then that's kind of what led to him saying, hey man, you want to go play pool? Because he spots me playing pool, and he already knows, like, if we go to that pool table, we're getting in a fight, because this guy we already got into it at the bar. But for whatever reason, that first part didn't make it into it. But it was written with Dutch, and Dutch was the one we almost got into it at the bar.
Is he the one that was supposed to rip your ear then?
Yeah, that I believe so. That it was basically Dutch starting the whole thing off. And then Johnny, of course, cleans it up for him and then kicks it. So I can't remember, to be perfectly honest, in the original pages who pulled my ear out. I want to say it was Dutch, but I'm glad the way it all worked out, though, man. I mean, it would have been really cool to have him there, but I'm glad it got to be. I got to do so much with Mr. Zabka and with Johnny. I think it came out really well, and but it really was originally him, and I think he was the only one that wasn't able to be there for whatever reason. I have no idea why, or what happened there, but I do know in the script it was originally Dutch. Yeah.
So that must have been, I would be geeking out going, oh my God, Dutch, I'm going to fight him. And then exactly how he is in like the Karate Kid, really intimidating.
I felt he was the biggest jerk of the crew by far. I always did. I always said Dutch is the one that's the real like jerk,
He's fully Cobra Kai. Like,
yeah. And I thought he was like behind Johnny, probably the toughest fighter too. Like the way, like the toughest opponent to get in there. And I always love that scene where they're getting ready before the tournament. He gets a hold of Daniel before the tournament in that cage, and
that's exactly the scene I was thinking when you said that.
Come on, man, right here.
Let's go, Naruto.
Yeah, exactly. That classic Dutch look with the thing, and I'm just like, this guy.
Yeah, I love how he like turns side on and he's like in position. It's like crazy,
totally
bro.
One of these, like,
yeah, like,
yeah.
Like, damn, he really wanted to fight. Like,
he was down. He was down to throw anytime. So I love that character. So I'm with you. I definitely was excited to play it, but I mean, come on, I got to do it with Johnny Lawrence instead, which is equally.
Either way, cool. It was a win-win. Like knowing knowing you're going to be in front of Zabka, and that whole line as well. I mean. Recipes Rob Garrison. It was really spooky when hearing that news, and then obviously seeing what happened to him in the show. So bittersweet. But yeah,
Eerie
do you
though,
know?
kind of eerie the way that all shook out. Yeah.
Right, because it's like you literally. It's almost like they knew it was happening. It's so creepy. It's like it still gets me now thinking about it. Like the way it happened, it was so sincere as well. It's like
Yeah.
it's just really really spooky. But that scene with your lines, I think you say to him about like make a wish child
Yeah.
or something. Was that a like improv or again was that script?
No, that was there. They wrote those words in there. Yeah, and again, I mean that is kind of creepy because the Make a Wish kid, for not everybody that might not get that reference, is usually terminally ill kids or adults that they want their last wish to meet a celebrity or meet someone famous or meet anybody, and you try and grant them their wish before they unfortunately might pass on or having trouble in their lives. But anyway, so yeah, again, like kind of creepy that I said that to the guy, but at the time, we don't know it. But yes, it was written word. I think TV shows, or at least I have learned this, and I try and do as much as possible, unless they tell me go improv as much as you want. I think film, you have a little bit more room to improv and mess with the lines a little bit. I think TV a lot. They like you to stick to the page as much as possible, unless they come up and tell you. Because I think there was some stuff at the beginning that was just, they were just like, yeah, you can come up and say, I think something, I was like, God damn, man, those kind of little things I kind of threw in. But as far as that was theirs. That was Mr. Heald and Schlossberg and Horwitz. That was their writing and lines and all the good stuff that they do. So yeah, I can't take credit for the Make-A-Wish line, but
Yeah, it was great. I mean, that so that whole fight, was that like was that like the first take, or was that like another? I mean, obviously the original was the Dutch one, but for that scene with Johnny pulling your ear and everything, was that like the first time you got it, or did you have like different versions of it?
we definitely did. I mean, that fight scene was a full day, start to finish, like daytime till night. It was a lot because there were stunt guys in there. There was the amazing stunt coordinators that they had. So a lot of rehearsal, blocking with the camera and where you're going to land after you get hit and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty time consuming. So it's a lot of probably different takes mixed in together to get that final result. But the one thing that we didn't have afforded to us for a bunch of takes was the ear being yanked out, because it was a prosthetic and it took a lot of time to put that on, set it, dry it, do all that stuff. It took a lot of time. So we really had to try and get it on the first time, which we did pretty good. And then we did do it a second time where we just tried to like kind of stick it together. I think even Billy put his hand in there, but was kind of holding it together, and we just started the take from there, so we could get a second time of doing it, which is so hard, because if something doesn't come out right, you're kind of just stuck with that take, or you're on an hour delay or 2-hour delay to put this thing back together. Because if you wanted to make it look real too, I mean, the thing was pretty destroyed afterwards, because yanking it off and throwing it, and then we're getting into it. But the ear pull is really a one taker, or a one off, what they like to call it. And then the fight scene is just a combination of lots and lots of takes, except for also the beer glass across the head too. We only had two of those, so we had 2 tries on that. So we had 2 tries on the big mug across my dome. And then the rest of it was a lot of working choreography, and those 2 things were like, hey, no pressure, but we have to get those like right the first time. So I'm like, okay.
Right, like if it was a real fight, you don't want to be messing up with like a beer cat. You want to make sure you get it first time too. So it's also the realism, I guess. So it must have been surreal to be part of that episode. Like it could have been any other episode, but you're part of the episode where the OG Cobras unite.
Right.
And you were saying like how much of a big Karate Kid fan you were. So when you first saw the Karate Kid, like what did you think of Cobra Kai, and how do you feel about being in Cobra Kai now and seeing Johnny's perspective a little bit more than the first time that you watched the Karate Kid?
Right. I'm sorry I lost you for a quick second, but you're basically asking me the progression of what I think the difference of Johnny back then till Johnny now.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. I'm sorry. I just want to clarify my phone did something funky.
That's cool.
Or my camera did something funky. Yeah, like I said, when I watched, I didn't know how they were going to do it, and then when I watched the first episode, I loved what they did. I thought I don't know any other way you could have done it. Now it's perfect. It's this guy that was kind of stuck in the '80s, and you know, he was the hot shot big man on campus in high school, and you do see this in life a lot, that, you know, you may be too young to see it fully transpire out now, but a lot of times the dudes that were like that in high school maybe don't turn out to be, not that he didn't turn out great, but, you know, are toiling away doing something. Maybe they thought they were always going to be some type of star in their life forever, and it just turned out he was just living a pretty mundane life that he himself wasn't happy with. And I dug it, man. Like, I totally got into it. I'm like, this is like, you know, and they were just right on with the music and the way he carried himself, and the, you know, and the not really caring too much about all the new technology and everything that's happening in the world.
Yeah,
you
the
know?
Facebook.
He seems very, and now when he even seems like older than he really is, because I'm like, he seems more like my parents or my grandparents when he's just like, you know, hashtag that. And what do you call this? Facebook? And I'm just like, but he's staying way out of it. But, you know, I do know a couple people like that in my life who are just like, I don't do any of that. I'm not on any of it. But I loved what they did with him. I think it made for an interesting story, and it made for so many opportunities for things to happen, which are happening now throughout the seasons, you know, where he's
right.
One season you might think, I love Johnny, I'm on Team Johnny. And the other season you might think, you know, he's kind of, there he is, he's a jerk again. And I just think it opens it up to so many possibilities for the story to move forward.
Right.
I love everything that they did. And I know a lot of people loved it. I wasn't one of these conspiracy theorists, you know, the whole conspiracy of how Daniel's the real bad guy.
Yeah, there was a theory on the YouTube a while ago. Yes. There's a lot of people that believe he was the one that kind of didn't help himself. And, you know, you can kind of say he didn't help himself when he was kind of trying to do what Johnny did to him. But in some eyes, people will be like, well, you know, he was kind of picking on Daniel in the first place. So it's like, you know, you get what you deserve kind of thing. But then, yeah, it's kind of like, maybe he should have just let him, you know, just ignored them, taken the high ground, but he clearly didn't. He wanted his revenge.
That's that Italian jersey in him. He wasn't going to be a pushover. I like that Daniel had some spunk and stuck up to those guys. So I don't agree with that. I think that the Cobra Kai were definitely the bullies until the very end, when, you know, Johnny hands him the trophy and shows he's got a little class and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, he what did people want him to do in the original Karate Kid when he, you know, you're trying to meet a girl, especially you're trying to meet a girl for the first time, the guy just completely clowns you and pushes you to the side.
Yeah, you'd want to, like, you know, you're gonna feel embarrassed. I would be like,
exactly.
You know, you want to stand up for yourself, especially if there's a girl that you like you don't want to. At that age, you're gonna feel embarrassed.
Yeah, the real bad guys in that scene are not either of those guys. It's those stupid punks that Daniel made friends with that all bailed on him just because he stood up to Johnny.
Freddie Fernandez. Where the hell was he after that?
All of a sudden, there's like, man, shit, I thought you knew karate. I'm out of here. I was like, you're the real jerk, man. You don't even like help your boy up and be like, I can't believe you stood up to that guy. He's twice as big as you and twice as tough as you, and you still stood up to him. So I never was really into that conspiracy. I mean, maybe shouldn't have poured the water on him when they're smoking the doob in the bathroom and that kind of stuff. But,
yeah.
Hey, Daniel's spunky, man. You know, you don't become All Valley champion without having a little fire.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Right. I actually, that's a really good point. Like, I didn't really think of that too much, but I did notice how those guys kind of just stopped talking to him. Like, he was on the floor in the sand, and I mean, even Ali went up to him. Ali just met him then, and it was just such a like betrayal for those guys. Like, yeah, let's just leave this guy to it.
Instantaneous. Oh, you got your butt kicked? Well, you're not our friend anymore. Wow. Thanks, guys. These West Coast guys are real something else.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite realistic in a sense, because like there's definitely people like that. I remember in school, like, if you know you got in like a fight, there'd be people you think that'd stick up for you, and they just wouldn't be there. And it's like, okay, I know my real friends are then. Yes. But
it's like that scene was. There's a saying like that in acting, or I think it applies to life too. It's just like, you're always shocked at the people that are completely support you, and you're always just as shocked as the people that don't support you. Like you're like, wow, I can't believe that guy's been such a big supporter. I never would have thought that. And this guy is like been zero support, never had my back, and I would have never thought that. So you just never know, man. People's character pops out in in weird situations in life. But what are you gonna do?
For sure, yeah. So if you were involved, if your character was involved in the karate, or even yourself as Scott, which might be more interesting, which dojo would you be in if you were involved in the karate? So Cobra Kai or Miyagi Do, maybe even Eagle Fang. Which one would you like to see yourself in?
Oh, man, as much as it pains me to say, I think I myself I don't think I would have loved Kreese as my teacher, but I think the Cobra Kai would have been more my vibe, because going by and watching them in class, and like auditing the class or something, being like, man, these guys can fight. These guys are in here sparring, and these guys are really applying it. And I think, like Daniel did at the beginning too, I would start to get frustrated too. Like, hey, defense is great, but when do I get to learn how to punch? When do I get to learn how to kick somebody in the face? I think there's an aspect of that to me where I do like the whole, like, because I love MMA and I love combat sports and stuff. I do like the whole get down of all that, but I'm also a really good sport and don't ever want to see anybody get hurt, or I don't like bullies at all. So God, that's a great question. I would be so torn, because I think I would like the physicality of the training with the Cobra Kai, but I would definitely the principles of life and the sportsmanship and of Miyagi. And so I think I would be torn somewhere in the middle. So we'll see what happens with White Bang. Maybe I'll come back and change this later. Maybe they'll have the best of both worlds, and I'll say that's where I want to go. And so I want to be taught by both ends of the spectrum there. I want to learn how to really fight, and I also want to be a good sport and not be a bully, and be someone that other people would actually like to train with, rather than getting punched and kicked while you're training with.
I mean, as much as I like, the morality of like Miyagi and the way Daniel just instills that into his students, I just think being Cobra Kai be badass, just straight up. It just is a little bit more cooler.
It's definitely a little bit more cooler, man, and the whole thing. But yeah, I definitely would be one of those guys that it would be cooler, and then I would be thinking, no, the five of us, I mean, really need to be picking on this one kid, or like we really
that's when you draw the line, kind of
cheap
thing.
shots of dudes when they're already down and like kicking again and hit them again. I mean, that's not my bag, but I'm so torn. I'm with you. Maybe we could get in there, me and you, and turn them into good sports. But still be the badass Cobra Kai without having to be be terrible people too.
Well, that's true, because the thing with Johnny's Cobra Kai, that would suit us more. Like, that's why I like Eagle Fang, because it's very much like Cobra Kai, but it's Johnny's version.
Yes.
That's why I'd probably go in Eagle Fang rather than Cobra Kai or Miyagi Do. It's like a good balance, but then, if you have a sensei that looks out for you, but could do things that make you a bit destructive, like the way Kreese makes, his students, then you might not realize that and learn the hard way, just like Hawk did in season 3. But yeah, I mean, it would be cool to be part of any dojo, but of course, like, you got to think of like the greater good in a sense, so you don't get corrupt. But that's the thing I love about the show. There's, even though there could be a villain, there's truly no accurate depiction of someone being a true villain, because it's so open to perspective. Like the way they show Kreese's backstory in season 3, are like, well, this guy isn't all bad. Like, no one is born bad. No student is just bad. Right. It's a bad teacher. It's something they've gone through. And I feel like a lot of people are lazy to neglect it, because they think of Kreese as just being this villain. That's it. That's all it is. But there really is more layers to him.
100%. Like if you watched season 2 or season 3 and never watched maybe season 1, you don't know how Hawk became who he was, like his journey to get where he was. You see him in season 1 at the beginning, and maybe you identify with that and say that, well, yeah, he deserves to be how he is now, because look how he was treated, and look at how he was picked on, and his journey to get where he was now. So yeah, man, everyone's journey and story is different. We all are very quick to judge. See, you're right. Little life lessons in there. We're very quick to judge each other without really knowing each other.
Right. And it's cool you said about life lessons because within the show you learn a lot about life, like all these principles. And I love the way the senseis have their own viewpoint and it comes really from their experience of life. Like
Mm-hmm.
strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Like although that could sound extreme, it's actually very valuable. Like strike
Yes.
hard with your goals, strike first, go and get it, don't wait. Show no mercy to your goals, work hard, don't like persevere. I can get all the good things and connotations out of that. And then with Miyagi though, yeah, defend yourself. You know, stand on your own 2 feet and don't be afraid. And then there's just Johnny. He
Right.
has
Right.
like
Right.
a his version. And I mean, I like the mentalities that they have. It's just that from this kind of story viewpoint, it's who's the good person, who's the bad
Mm-hmm.
person in this. But at the end of the day, you could take both into the world in a good way, as long as you're not extreme with the no mercy and hurting people and
Right.
bullying people. Um, but like, who would you say is your favorite Karate Kid character, or even from Cobra Kai?
Oh man, that's a loaded question too. And I was going one last thing to touch on what we were just saying. That's what I loved about the finale of season 3. It was one of my favorite episodes of all time to get all that backstory, even leading up to it on Kreese, to see why
Right.
Kreese is how he is. You know what I mean? To be like, okay, the most despicable human being in this whole franchise probably I think is him. And now we can get a little light onto maybe the way why he is how he is and where he started out. So anyway, favorite character of all these guys.
There's so many.
I'll take it back, and I got to go with it. I mean, such a toss up, but I don't want to weenie out on you and just say, well, it's this one and this one and this one.
I like it.
I loved Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid. Not only just the character, I mean, the performance was out of this world, but just that character. Like I was really close with my grandfather, and I always got those vibes from him too, like these lessons that he was teaching Daniel, and just like maybe in a roundabout way. I mean, not even on that kind of level, but my grandfather would kind of do that. So I always had this thing, and I loved his sense of humor. I loved it, and
He was great.
always that he put this so much importance on things like little lines and little things that he did with like, what belt are you? And he's like, brown leather from JCPenney. What kind of belt? What belt do I need? I love that stuff. And then I loved how he just adopted Daniel as like his son. And
right.
those moments that like, seriously, I'm such a sap that like at one point watching those movies made me cry. Like when he gives him the car and just those little things like that are all out of all the fighting and all the cool storylines in so many movies, especially sports movies like Rocky and Rudy and Karate Kid, stuff like that. It's the sentimental moments, the ones that get me all choked up. Those are the ones that get me. And when Mr. Miyagi would have those with Daniel, like those still get me sometimes. And I always get them. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and, I've had grandparents and my own family issues and family stuff. That kind of stuff just really touches me. So I would say Mr. Miyagi was my favorite, just because he just lit that screen up every time he was on it, and every time he had something to say, it was interesting, and you could identify with it in some way in your life. So he's probably my favorite character.
I couldn't relate more to you when you said about your grandfather, because I literally related to Miyagi in that same way with my grandfather. Funny enough, like he actually is no coincidence really in saying this, but like my granddad actually like inspired me and my brother to even do karate. So like even more crazy. Like he was kind of the motivation for me and my brother to like defend ourselves. And
Right.
when I saw Karate Kid as a youngster, it just made me realize even more like, wow, like I'm so appreciative of my granddad, because like he really is the Miyagi in my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's like a father figure as well. And
for sure.
That's what I loved about his character in the film, because like it's actually very relatable. A lot, even if you have father, grandfather, there is a Miyagi. There's someone out there that's trying to look out for you and make you a better person. And I love that, because Daniel was really isolated. Like he was with his mum, didn't really make too many friends. He had problems with living in the valley. Like he said, he misses where they were before, and his mum doesn't really understand that truly. But this Miyagi character in his life, it really comes to almost like his savior, and I love that.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, their scenes are just phenomenal. And I think one that really gets me, not just at the end of Karate Kid 1, it's the third movie when he tells him to stay focused, and he said the real cry is inside you,
Right.
time to let it out. And I always think of my granddad in that moment when he would kind of, get like not angry, but in that sense, like, yeah, he's trying to think about you and care for you. And it was just it was definitely amazing to see what they've done with that character in the Karate Kid, and also how they pay a homage to him in Cobra Kai.
I know, man. I wish he would have still been around to be a part of this. But what a legendary character and a legendary actor he was. And I couldn't. We agree on a lot of stuff. I agree on that too. I could tell you a million stories about my grandfather and things that he said to me or did for me, or life lessons that he taught me that I still carry with me to this day. And I have a 2-year-old that I hope I get to pass him on to her. And my grandfather meant a lot to me.
If there was any life lessons that stuck out the most, I mean, I'm sure they all did, but what would you say was one that you learned from your grandfather that really, like, you apply, like, even now?
My grandfather was the same as Miyagi like that too. Is he was really accepting and really willing to listen to you, and he wasn't when Daniel made mistakes, and I made mistakes too, and he wouldn't yell at him or come down on him hard, but he would just try and just teach him in a way that apply it to life, that you're better than that type of thing. Like you're better than like we're saying, like the belt doesn't matter. It's the journey and your character, and the color of your belt doesn't matter. Or even on that table, like he said, he's like, you've already proven yourself just by coming out here. Even if you would have lost in that first match, you have proved yourself, and then of course, Daniel being the stud that he is says, hey, I still don't have balance. I got to show up. But that kind of sounded like my grandfather to me, whether I was bummed out about losing a baseball game or something. And he's just like, you got out there and you tried. Yeah, you didn't have a good, but stuff like that, those kind of lessons for me. And then also when you're acting kind of like, when you can act like a little bit of a jerk or something. I remember one time we used to play golf a lot, and I threw my golf club, and he did not like that, man. He ended up not finishing the round with me. He made me sit there, and he said, you can play the rest of this round by yourself. And he went on and joined up with another group. And I saw him afterwards. He didn't yell at me and call me, but he's like, that's not you. That's not good character. That's not like, and I just, it resonated with me so much still into this day. Like, what? He's right. I mean, how embarrassing is that to throw your golf club in the middle of a court? It's things like that that always resonate with me. He made those big mistakes in Karate Kid 3. Daniel made those mistakes about moving on from him. And of course, Mr. Miyagi ends up welcoming him back with open arms. He saves his butt again. And my grandfather used to save my butt a lot with stuff, not physically necessarily, but, and my grandmother too. They were wonderful, but just, and my grandfather was very soft-spoken like that too. He wasn't loud. He was a very, very friendly, very warm guy that all my friends loved, but he wasn't this big, huge personality. He was a little bit more down, played it low key, kind of like Miyagi does. And those things really remind me a lot of the same. And he always had interesting things to say, and interesting ways to say them. So those are a lot of comparisons for me.
For sure. And I think that's why I love this franchise as well. So the storytelling goes a long way. It's not just simply a story. It's got so much complexities, and like the arcs you see with these characters in Cobra Kai and the youngsters, it's so amazing how they've been influenced by the legacy of these characters in the Karate Kid, and how they're sort of continuing their lessons into their lives. And for example, with Daniel, his daughter Sam, like, she's understanding more about herself, and also like continuing that Miyagi legacy as well. It's like I love the way they've done it. They've done it so well, and just a testament to the big three for all of that they've done with Cobra Kai. And if there was any sort of like moment you'd say with your character in that scene after that fight, what do you think he'd be doing right now after that whole bar scene?
Yeah, right. Going licking his wounds for sure. Going to the hospital for that picture across the head. Well, the the selfish actor part of me is like, oh, he would go back and find a way to go get a rematch with Johnny and work his way back into this universe, right? Yeah, that's an interesting question. No one's ever asked me that. Afterwards, one of two things. He could be just one of those guys, big drinker, and got into it, and wakes up the next day and says, "God, I gotta get my life together, man. I'm out here getting in fights, and I just got my butt kicked by this group of guys, and again, I'm acting like a punk in the way I'm treating women in the bar, stuff like that." But a guy like him, you know what? I would think not much changed. That's probably his spot. He went right back to that bar the next weekend. Probably made some excuses why I would have kicked that guy's ass if the way I had him in a headlock. I was about to choke him out if that waitress didn't throw him that pitcher. It was over. So he's probably in the bar telling those stories. Yeah, I fought 4 guys, man, and then so I could see that. I could see him not learning from his lesson and being right back in that bar the next weekend and not taking any accountability for it, and probably starting to fight with somebody else, and probably still trying to get that waitress's number or something.
Yeah, that'd be quite a crazy moment. Because something that Josh Hill said that really interested me is that no character truly leaves the show. Right. So, like, I feel like, yeah, even characters we haven't seen for like a season or 2, they could come back. We could see you back. Like, hopefully, you would see you in season 4. Hey, man, further down the line.
No, and my phone is always ready to ring and go because I enjoyed my time so much, and those guys are so wonderful to work with. And yeah, Josh is like one of the favorite. He directs, writes. Yeah, as you know, he does everything. He's one of my favorite people I've ever worked with. He was fantastic. So yeah, you walked that line of really wanting to your character to come back, but then again, they got a lot more going on in their universe. But one day, hey, you just never know, because you're right. He's right. No one ever is gone in that franchise. Something might come up where Guage comes back and he's looking for his revenge. Where he goes and joins, who knows? But I'm definitely open to it, and it would be fun to come in and do anything.
Do you know what would be crazy, right?
Yeah.
If like Terry Silver was like looking for people to kind of maybe, let's say, try and like sabotage Johnny and Daniel and their team up, and then he approaches your character, and then like he doesn't send you back as just ear gauge, he sends you back with like like metal ear gauges and going in like a absolute boss, and like showing Johnny and Daniel that you're showing Johnny shouldn't have messed with him. I'm just thinking of some crazy little scenario.
I love it, man. I'm in. Let's get you on that writing team. I love it. Yeah, if they were able to bring Sean Cannon back, maybe me and him we're tied together, and I could be his little sidekick the rest of the way. We got some animosity towards both of them. He hates Daniel, I hate Johnny, and we go after all of them.
Right, it would be pretty insane. Yeah, so like we were saying about earlier on, about like your projects, like way before Cobra Kai, and just like you've been in like Walker, Texas Ranger. We were saying earlier on about Chuck Norris, like imagine if he actually was in Karate Kid, and that would have been surreal if we have someone like that cameo.
Yeah.
So I really hope we do have someone like that in the future come into the show. It'll be super dope.
Oh man, with this last season being able to get so many of the cast from Karate Kid 2 to show up, and then Allie to be back, like those were things after the first season you were like, that'd be nice, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
And then everyone was back, to get Allie back for a couple episodes like that, and the whole Elizabeth Shue, who's off doing other shows and it just it was crazy. So I don't think never say never to anything now. And then the way that this last season ended, it does look like we're going to get some people from the Karate Kid 3 movie. So I'm super excited to see. And why not Chuck Norris? Who knows? The show, and it doesn't hurt that now the show is like globally freaking so popular.
Yeah.
Actors that maybe at first, I'm not going to go to some Karate Kid thing on YouTube Red, and who knows if anybody, whatever that is. And I think everyone's eyes are open. Like, oh, it's a good show. It's a well-written show.
It's getting the respect now, yeah.
And dude, it's #1 on Netflix for how long when it went to Netflix? So it's like people are clamoring to be on it when maybe at the very beginning they weren't. So I would say everybody is open to coming on now. So why not Chuck Norris get in there, man, and do some damage, make a little cameo like me and you were talking about. That would be crazy.
You know, it's funny. We were talking about like, you know, Buffy as well, and your appearance in season 2, episode 16. One of my favorite episodes. You know, the episode where Xander's like, you know, he gets a spell casted on him, and he starts to really get female attention, which was hilarious.
Right,
but you
right.
know, if Sarah Michelle Gellar even appeared, because I think she has some sort of martial arts background, and you know, like even seeing someone like that would be pretty cool for the story. Just kind of hit my mind now thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be to get her as something. I don't know if she could be, but you never know. I mean, it's TV, it's the movies. Get her as Buffy because she's a vampire. To get her, yeah, out there doing something. Yeah, I mean, man, it could go. You could do anything, man. And the brains on those guys, the writing, the way that they've crafted this whole thing, like, I think they could make anything work. So I think that an idea like that is great. Any new blood, anything coming in like this, I'm so anxious for the next season because I want to see what happens with this whole Terry Silver character. And, you know, because we all know, right? That's who he was calling at the end of that episode, right? So I'm really
I think so as well.
Yeah,
I think
man,
so.
that's who he's calling. Because I remember going, what the heck? That makes so much sense. He was the guy, you know, because they do say they were buddies in Vietnam, like in the movie. I never thought of it. It was over my head the whole time until that final episode. I went, oh, it's right there in front of me the whole time. It was right in front of me, and I didn't see it till the very end. I don't want to ruin it for anybody if they haven't seen it or they're going to binge watch it later. But if you've seen the movies, you don't have to have seen the movies to watch these episodes and enjoy it. But stuff like this, it helps because, and if you're a super fan honk like me, you know all these little things that and you're like, oh, that's what was happening. I remember my wife, she doesn't know it as well, and I was just like, oh, I get it now. And she's like, what happened? What are you talking about? And I'm just like, no, you don't see it. That's who he's calling his war buddies, Terry Slow. And she's like, oh God, you're such a dork. I'm like, okay, but still, it's really, really, really cool.
For sure. I can't wait if, you know, I really can't wait to see when we next see Terry Silver. I think that's going to be huge. He was such a great character.
The actor, he doesn't, you know, he's a big writer and producer and stuff. He doesn't do a lot of acting gigs anymore. So if they get him to come back, that would be pretty amazing.
Right. I'm sure he can, you know, wipe the dust off the gi and get back into it.
Yeah, man, tremendous martial artist too. So,
right.
Yes,
he was a black belt in Taekwondo, I believe. So
yeah,
he's badass.
I'm 100%. You're right. Well, you could tell by, you know, you got a martial arts background, like you said. So, you know, you can always seem to be able to tell when an actor also has some martial arts background. And I remember watching him in 3 going, that's either the greatest double I've ever seen, or this guy's he's definitely got skills. Oh, his kicks were like on point. His hands were always, yeah, he was on point the whole time. So yeah, I looked it up and he was like, oh yeah, you're right. He might even be like a second or third Dan in Taekwondo, but he's legit, man. He's legit
beast. And he's like really tall, like 6'4", 6'5". It's like
tall, thin drink of water, man. So those legs are coming for your head at any time.
Yeah.
At any time.
It's crazy. You can hear me all loud and clear now.
Perfectly, man. Apologies.
That's all right. I was just asking. I was saying about like. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your project, the Stay. Sorry, my camera's going out of focus now.
Look at us, man.
There we go.
What are we doing? No.
Yeah, like technical difficulties. But yeah, like your recent project, The Stay. I'm quite into thrillers, and I like a good story, like I said earlier on. So, like, yeah, tell me a little bit about that project.
Oh man, thank you for asking. This is my baby. It's the first one under my small little production company. It's the leading lady of one that I kind of did everything on, but with tons and tons of help. Like I got to, wrote it and it was my story, but then I brought in one of my good friends who's a writer and we wrote it together and made this thing together. It's called The Stay. And it's a little movie. It's a thriller. It's an independent film. It's about, at its core, it's about relationships. It's that classic tale of two couples go away on a weekend vacation in a secluded house, and we got a weird caretaker, and then things kind of start to unravel over the weekend. Secrets start to come out over the weekend, that all these couples everyone has a secret, and builds up to a nice climactic ending. which is really fun without giving anything away. So it's a really, I really am proud of it. I think it came out nice. We got distribution so you guys can catch it almost anywhere. It's Amazon Prime. It's on DirecTV. It's on Apple TV, Vudu. You could go with your Fire Stick or your Roku or anything, and you can pretty much find it anywhere. You can order the Blu-ray. I think it's fun. If you just like it's really like a fun date night movie, man. It's about two couples that have some problems and run into all kinds of drama over their weekend stay out in the middle of nowhere. And I like it. I love the cast, and I'm excited about it, man.
Awesome, man. Well, I definitely need to check it out. Cause,
please do.
when I was reading and stuff, like I really like a thriller. I'm not really too much into horror, but I love a good thriller, so I'll definitely be checking that out, and I'll let you know. I'm super excited to definitely check it out.
It's a thriller. It's so weird that horror has such a huge audience, because when we were trying to pitch this film to get it out there, get people to pick it up, buy it, or distribute it, whatever you want to call it. You know, because the cover's kind of creepy looking too. And is there horror? Is there lots of blood? Is there lots of nudity? Like, no. We listened to it like it's a thriller. It's a thriller. It's a slow burning story that comes to like a little climactic ending. So no, it's not a chop 'em up. So good for you. So anybody out there, give it a chance. But it's definitely not a horror chop 'em up. It's got a lot of story to it, and a lot of fun. You know, it's a kind of a whodunit too, a little bit of a mystery, like what's going on, what's happening, and see if you can guess the ending. Some people have guessed it, and some people haven't. So
okay,
check it out and see. So it's good. I'm really, really excited about it. Like I said, it's the first thing under the banner of my production company, and I'm excited. So yeah, I would appreciate it if you and your followers checked it out, man, because little small independent movies like ours, it means a lot to have people checking it out. So thanks.
Sure, man. It'll be super fun to check that out. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I love a good thriller. I love, the Jordan Peele movies, like Get Out, Up. Basically, like Joker, like psychological thriller, anything that's a thriller always appeals to me.
And those are what we're aspiring to. I mean, those are all home runs. So I'm like, that's what I would like to work up, is to make a level of that kind of thriller one day, because I love thrillers too. So yeah, this was like our starting point, our baby, and now we got to work our way up to one day be as good as those guys. But I think there's some nice things done in these, so hopefully you like it, man. It's good. I hope you enjoy it.
Awesome, yeah. You ready to take some questions now from some fans?
Let's take some questions, man. Let's do it.
All right, awesome. So, guys, I just put a link in the stream. I don't know if you can see any of the comments. Can you read them?
Yeah. Where are we looking at? Ask one question for Scott at the end. That little banner down there.
Oh, it's like the comments. Because I know you're on your phone. I think you have to like tap.
Okay.
This is private chat, and this is comments, so you can read what the viewers are saying.
No, I haven't. Oh, it's probably good. I shouldn't read what they're saying. I have enough problem. Yeah, I don't see them actually, but let me see. What do I do? I can hit chat on here, maybe. No.
Yeah, I think it's on comments. We got quite a few people joining, so we will take.
Oh, awesome. Well, hell, let's talk to them. I don't need to see all the. I'll go back and watch and check out all the comments. I want to talk to you live anyway. So.
Yeah, of course. All right, we have Chosen Vader. What's up, man?
Sup?
Hey, how's it going, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, all good over here, man. Good to see you again. So, what's your question for Scott?
So, you know how there's gonna be a tournament in season 4, right?
I've heard that. Yes, I'm on the same wavelength as you about they keep all these things pretty tight to the vest, so I'm not totally dialed in on what's happening. But anyway, go ahead.
So, if you're watching it, who do you think would win?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I mean, I would have said my man Miguel, but coming off the big injury and everything now, it's gonna.
Yeah.
He's got to work his way back into it. I mean, wow. Well, let's go with the handsome one, man. Our little mini Brad Pitt there, Miguel's rival. Tanner. I'll go with him.
You talking about Robbie?
I'm gonna bet on him. We're gonna get him in that tournament. He's gonna win.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh, do you? You're the same? Okay, good. He's tough. Hey, after I saw him in that brawl in juvie or in prison or whatever that was
dope.
Climbing up walls and doing some Matrix type stuff and some John Wick things. I was like,
super cool.
Yeah, he's gonna be tough to deal with.
the way he did that, he could be like, I feel like he could play like a really good villain one day, and like maybe even like I kind of got like Spider-Man vibes of the way he was like moving in that scene.
Right.
I think Robbie. I think Robbie and Cobra Kai are going to win the tournament. This is just my prediction
Yeah.
because of like that villainous kind of they win, and it just the dystopia that would give like Johnny and Daniel like, oh my god, we didn't win, we didn't get our objective. Like it's going to spiral into crazy things, and yeah, I mean it'll be crazy to see something like that happen.
So
Yeah.
okay, we're all kind of in consensus then, man. We think he's definitely got to be one of the favorites. So
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, my boy's Miguel, but I feel like Robbie might take this one. But you're right, he has got that vulnerability to his injury, so maybe Miguel doesn't do it. And yeah, if Robbie does, he also gets that kind of revenge in that sense. But chosen one, thank you for chosen Vader, thank you for coming on.
See ya, man.
hey, take care.
You too.
Take it easy.
You too.
All right, let's get another person in here. We have the skater. Hello.
The skater, nice.
You there, the skater?
Hi.
How you doing?
Hello. Shamoon, you're so annoying.
Why would you? Wow. Okay. We're just gonna ignore that.
I think we're excited to see you.
Yeah, there must have been definitely. All right, Kyler, what's up, man? Or Kyle?
That's good.
Hey, what's
Yeah,
up, brother?
Kyler 2.0. I guess I wasn't Cobra Kai material in the talent jump or whatever. Forget about that. All right, so
what's your question, man?
Question is, was your ear gauge actually ripped off in the bar? How'd you film that?
Yeah, good question. It was, my ears are pierced, but I never had gauges. So we were saying I wore for the audition, I wore my earrings, but for that, I had to go in a day before filming and they fit a fake ear like a prosthetic. They fit it on my ear, and then they basically, for lack of a better word, they hot glued it to the bottom of my earlobe. And so they made the gauge, then put all the prosthetics around it, put it on here like this, and then glued it on there. And they were both just hanging on my head all day. And they kind of treated me like a little statue, you know, don't get too close to him. Don't knock those things off his head. They're like gold. And that's how they did it. They looked great. And then they just matched it up with some makeup that matched my skin tone. And we were good to go. Yeah.
Let's see. That's
Yeah,
neat.
it was cool.
And also, if you got into if you went at it with drunk Johnny, not sober Johnny, drunk Johnny in a bar fight, who would win?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to go, if we're doing stand-up, if we're fighting, I think we're standing up. He's got much better kicks than me, better strikes. I think maybe if I could get him on the ground, I got a little jiu-jitsu. So
you might get a few licks in.
I'm thinking maybe if I could get him on the ground, I got a chance. But standing up, he'd probably take me.
I like that. That's a good one. Thank you for coming on, Carl.
Thanks, Kyle, man. Cool questions.
Take care. Oh, one thing I had to ask you, like, what's your martial arts background? Because, like, you were saying earlier on, you're a big sports martial arts fan, and I love martial arts. I love sports as well. I'm a big NBA fan. But yeah, like, what's your background on that?
I was always been a little teeny bit of a tinker, like growing up but really I was consumed with baseball and I played. So but as later in life, a couple of years ago, I took up Krav Maga, which is not technically.
Yo, that's amazing.
It's basically self-defense with a lot of martial arts principles.
Isn't that what they train, like military, like in the military?
It's an Israeli like special forces thing. It's in Hebrew, I believe it is. It's short for contact combat, but it's a really, really good self-defense. And from that is where when we started progressing through my training of that, when it went to learning some ground principles, I found I was having trouble with some of these guys on the ground. And I was like, why are you so much better than this guy on the ground? We're all still learning the same things. Like, oh, I also train BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I said, really?
Love it.
So then a couple of years ago, I went down and signed myself up for some of that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And so I do both. I do Krav Maga, which Jiu-Jitsu, and tinker around with a little bit of Muay Thai.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man, I'm not an expert level, but I'm not a beginner anymore. I'm in that middle level and everything now where still got a ton to learn, but I'm not a beginner anymore, and I absolutely love it. Yeah, and that they're all equally different, but I just, because I love MMA, and those guys can all do everything. They can do stand up and go to the ground, and you're done equally fast either way. And I'm like, I want to learn to do both too, man. I need to learn how to defend myself on the ground and standing up. And it's really more for me now, just to, not like I'm trying to get into MMA. I just love the art of learning. And, also the self-defense part, be able to defend yourself. And it's not bad to have on your resume for acting and stuff too, that you can make some of this look real, So yeah, I love it. That's my background, and I plan on doing it for the rest of my life because I love it. If my body can take it, because some of the sparring is brutal, man. So if my body,
I can imagine Muay Thai. Yeah.
You train in what did you say? You're karate? Is that?
So I did karate at a young age. I kind of eventually stopped, and then I kind of did. My brother was the one that was really into martial arts and MMA, and he did a lot of MMA. Did Muay Thai with him for a bit, and I think we kind of learned a bit of Muay Baran as well, which is super cool, and kind of like a bit of BJJ as well. Because the thing is, we went to like an MMA gym, and they kind of teach you different styles every week. So it's really cool. So I'm no expert. I'm kind of like beginner in a sense. Like I can maybe a little bit more than a beginner, but like in that sense, yeah, I kind of understand the styles. And BJJ, wow, that's tough. A lot of grappling, floor work. It's taxing. It's tiring. It's a
very different kind of cardio, and you don't realize until you do it how much energy you exude. And that's one that you train in. That it's pretty much mandatory that you do have live rounds at every class. Every class, you're 3 to 4 opponents, and you're going 5 to 6 minutes around with each of those guys. And if you're going to work your way up in that system and learn it, it's mandatory. They make you spar. Muay Thai or even Krav Maga. You're learning and you're going to classes, but you're not sparring every class. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you're sparring every class. So it can be taxing. It can be very humbling.
Yeah. I remember my brother put me in like a grapple, and I was just like, okay, that's it. I can't do this. It was,
and that's the thing. You have to be willing to go in there and get choked out a million times and tapped out a million times to learn and grow in that sport. And so you have to kind of check your ego at the door, because you're gonna, as a beginner, you're gonna have some growing pains, that's for sure. But you learn. I probably learned my most by the sparring that I've done, where I just get drilled, or because there's plenty. I'm better than some people, and so there's lots of people that are better than me, and lots of people at my same level. And I'm a couple of years in now, so again, I'm not, like you said, we're the same. I'm not a beginner, but I'm definitely not a black belt or an expert yet, and I'm still making my way. And there's some people that are just naturally monsters, but thank God they're all really, really good guys where I train. So they try not to break my head or my arms, because they know what I do for a living.
Love that.
Yeah.
Like, one person that makes me, I just thought of it now. GSP, right? George St. Pierre. He's a big fan of Cobra Kai.
Is he really?
He posted something on his like Instagram of him wearing the Cobra Kai shirt, and I was like, dude, if someone like him was in Cobra Kai, oh my God, he would. I'm not gonna lie, Johnny and Danny would struggle.
Exactly. That would be a cool storyline. All of a sudden they venture in and find, because it's so relevant to these days now, MMA is kind of is the new thing, to taking over just maybe straight karate classes. You bring in like an MMA character. There's where Air Gauge would fit in. You throw him in with that.
Ooh. Show a bit of context on Air Gauge. Like, this is the kind of stuff he's learning now from GSP.
Yeah, and that guy's a legend, man. I used to watch his fights, and he was he's a monster. I gotta follow him now. I didn't know he's a Cobra Kai fan.
Yeah, I think he's on Instagram. Definitely check him out. And because I'm a big Marvel fan. He was in the Falcon and Winter Soldier back in that, and he was in. Just so cool to see him involved in that. And
right, he had that fight he was like a military guy, and he had that big fight in one of the Marvel was it?
Yeah, it was against Captain America. Right? Yeah. Oh,
I remember. Yeah.
He's a legend. He's been retired for a while, but I mean, I really hope he fights Khabib. I mean, that fight would be insane. Can you imagine?
I don't know if he wants any of that man at this point in his career. Would I like to see it? Sure. I would I'm a fan. GSP, don't hate me, but I think you'd have you'd have a real tough time. And don't let Khabib get his hands on you, because that guy's grapple and jiu-jitsu is another level, man.
He's really good at ground and pound, and Khabib's Khabib. Like, he's just hit from his like life, like his childhood. He's just been a beast. And I think with GSP, what I find him the most threatening about him, he's so all around. He can do submissions, striking. He's got so much in his like package. It's like insane. And Khabib has got a few things, but of course he's Khabib. That's the specialty with him. And
he gets you on that ground, man, where he trained, where he came from. That stuff's already another level. And then he's like the best. He's the best at that I've ever seen. Some of the things, the way that he locks people's hips and legs down and just tortures you down there. And these guys are the most elite fighters in the world, and he just, once he gets them down, he makes them look foolish, you know.
Right.
And it's just like, how is that possible? Like, it's crazy to me. So I'm a huge Khabib fan, just on that alone, that someone could be that gifted in his ground game the way that he is. It's amazing to me.
For sure. We'll take one more question just to see what like awesome question we'll have next. So we'll have Michael Franco. What's up, man?
Hey, Michael, how's it going?
Scott Hamm, my goodness.
Yes, sir.
Out of all the the people that Shams has in the show, you're the one that I've been waiting to talk to.
Do I owe you money?
No.
Okay.
No. So it's kind of crazy because
he has a good theory.
Yeah, I do, because Shams and I have been talking about this for like several months now.
Okay.
And
we said a good few months ago.
Yeah, a few months ago, and I brought it up to his attention and said, "That's pretty cool, you know." But the cool thing about this is, the guys that actually created the show, they have a particular type of writing, what is kind of cool, for the sense that they put you in a suspense in the middle of the show. And they created Harold and Kumar, Hot Tub Time Machine. And then they had cameos from Neil Patrick Harris on the first show on Harold and Kumar in the middle of the show. So that kind of gets your attention to the point where it belongs. It gets you interested. And then on Hot Tub Time Machine, you had William Zabka and the lady that played Shannon. Was introduced into Hot Tub Time Machine. So that was in the middle of the show. So you appeared on season 2, Take a Right, episode 6. So one of the first thing that Miguel's lines in season 1, episode 1 is, "Hi, my name is Miguel. I'm from Riverside," to Johnny. Okay. So when the original Cobras went to take that road trip to Big Bear Lake is literally 6 miles away from Riverside. So my theory is, and this is a question that I would like for you, I know it's kind of tough, but if it's kind of embarrassing if I'm telling you this, because this was like 2 months ago when I told Sham about it. The writers kind of like do some hidden things around how they write. So my theory is, when Carmen said to Johnny, "I've been trying to get away from my son, my son's father. We've been trying to get away. We've been moving a lot. Since Big Bear Lake is close to Riverside and they just moved from Riverside. Do you think that you're Miguel's father?"
Wow, I like how you put that together with the geography and that whole thing.
Really good.
Not to put any more gas on the fire, but I am half Hispanic too, so no, so
yeah, so
it all kind of fits. And his mom is very attractive.
And you know, the cool thing is,
I like where your head's at, though. I love these kind of theories. Now, do I know if something like this is in the works, or if this could be a possibility? I can't lie and say
because
yes. I
you
don't
probably
know.
signed that NDA,
Am I
right?
do I still kind of keep in contact with some of those guys, the creators from the show? I do, in a little scope, but like I said, you have to sign NDAs for the audition.
I know.
If they have big things
know.
coming like this down the pike, I'm not going to know until the last minute. But I will say this: I'm on board for it. I like what
I'll be so.
Do you think that's a cool thing?
I
didn't
catch
that
happy.
Riverside to Big Bear thing either. And you're right; they're very close. Being a Southern California guy, they're very close.
Right. So
it's definitely an interesting theory.
It is
very plausible. So never know.
I'm so young looking, though. Could I really be his dad? I'm just kidding. Yeah.
No,
you could have the Paul Rudd gene where you just don't age.
yeah, exactly.
You're actually in the same bracket as Carmen, because
you're 100% right. Their age is right. The look is right. The geography is right. I like it. That's all I can say is I like it.
It's exactly what Chris said.
So that's why
Miyagi.
That's why I'm trying to when I Instagrammed Shams say it's like this is like I would love to talk to this guy, because you know when I followed you said you streamed YouTube Red, and it was kind of cool because I have to subscribe to YouTube Red in order to see the third episode or whatever. And I just started binge watching it. And then when, episode 6, season 2 came out, and then the original Cobras. So I went to the IDMB page, and then your character just says ear gouge. It's like, all right, you don't even have a name. And then you have all these lines on the show. And then it's like, okay, if IDMB page is going to do this, how come they don't even have a name? So the writers, they have something better for you.
Because they're keeping something up their sleeve.
Right. So it's just really common that when Hot Tub Time Machine didn't even put William Zabka on their IDMB page until they released the show. It says gang guy in a bar. That's what they had him on. And then
they're really good, and they like to keep things close to the vest. I remember being around there. They didn't want us to bring our phones on set either, so we didn't release any pictures of take a picture with the original Cobra Kai or anybody. They didn't want to take any chances of that getting out. So I think they're smart in doing it that way too. But not only for the sake of the show, but it gives us fans, like the three of us, stuff to think about have conversations like this. Which is great.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool because I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting to talk to you, and then I was in the show with Shams a few months ago. We interviewed Homeless Lynn, the landlord.
You asked another good question to her, and I brought you on. Yeah.
Good, man. Great questions. I like it. That's so.
Michael, thanks for coming on, man. I'm glad you said about your theory.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Have a good day, man.
All right, take it easy.
Good talk to you. Awesome.
See you later. All right, guys, that's a wrap on our interview. Scott, thank you so much for coming onto the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you about all these kind of things. And yeah, man, really hope we do see you down the line in Cobra Kai, and definitely will be checking out the stay later on.
Please do, and I appreciate your time and you having me on. And yeah, man, get some rest out there in the what is it, the GMT?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's only 9:30 here. I try and go to bed a little bit earlier, but I'll be up for a little bit, but then get to bed soon.
Man. It was awesome. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you guys for all coming on.
Bye,
and we'll see you guys next time.